gets into the 95 of Bolts. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away we go for the first time. Nicholas Porcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now, as we've got three wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
See just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Oklahoma International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Old Bastards Racing League. I am your host, Gareth McAllister, bringing you the action in 1080p and 60 FPS with Team Goon Squad broadcasting, and we are very, very happy and thankful to the Old Bastards Racing League and the Kimball Cup Sunday Series to have us on board broadcast for them. Now, it's looking like it's going to be a pretty good show so far. We have seen a bit of calamity out on track, as well as a bit of fun here at Homestead Miami Speedway. Now, some of the drivers seem in pretty good mood as we got a listen into them a little bit earlier on. So that should be giving us some nice, clean green flag racing. Before I jinx it too soon, of course, we're going to be watching Michael Dow run around the track right now at this time. And he's going to be one of the first drivers out in the 60 machine. Did manage to get himself into the top 4 times as far as practice was concerned. So we'll see if he can replicate that in his qualifying time. These drivers liking to switch their paint jobs every single week, keeping me on my toes as to which driver is which. And I very much appreciate that. The 60 machine, the White Castle machine, has always stayed the same. So, Michael Dow very much been title sponsored this season by White Castle. Fast food chain I've heard good things about, but have never been. As Dow has put in the third fastest lap time so far, of only 3, of course. So we keep them rolling in ever so slowly. Jeremy Mayo coming on board. Evening, everyone. Good evening to you too, my friend. Jeremy Mayo, once again, as always, joining every single stream. Very, very much appreciative of his effort there, and everyone else who's joining in to watch the Old Bastards Racing League. These guys couldn't do it without you, and I know I certainly couldn't without a lot of support from the viewers. Even if you don't say anything in spectator chat, it is always nice to see everyone coming out, supporting their favorite league, supporting the drivers, and on the very small occasion, potentially supporting the broadcaster is always greatly appreciated. Now we're watching Lee Warsdale in the Skittles-backed 99 machine. And he has done a phenomenal job so far of putting him in the second place position, just taken over by Dan Hill now. Onto his, I believe he's going to practice his pit entry. So we may have jumped on board him just a little bit late. We're going to jump on board there, Dean Gear, and we might take a ride around with him. Might be a pretty cool idea, as he heads towards his first qualifying lap. trying to fix the audio a touch. Tried to see if I could get it absolutely perfect to where you could hear exactly the different notes in the engine that we were looking for. And if you could hear it or not, let me reiterate it and just say that these drivers are off throttle for quite a while, as what we saw while we were on board there. With Dean Gear, Victor Lane going to be setting his final time of the night to try and get himself further up the standings, and does so into a solid 14th position. Now, we do have 31 cars, I believe, who have made their way out on track tonight. So it should be quite a stacked grid, which is something we always look forward to seeing here at the Old Bastards Racing League. Pac-Man, CT, as always, Dustin Martinson again. Martinson saying that we were sliding throughout practice, and that is not something I'm sure that a lot of the viewers are going to be wanting to hear as we get ready to get it started up. And we will run through the grid quickly here tonight. Starting on pole, Josh the Alien Robinson. He has been on form continuously this entire season and seems to continue to do so without too much at fault. Our most winning driver so far in the season, with his team Miata teammate Tom Ogle somehow missing out. Doesn't even register the time. You can see plus 0000. So that's just how close those two were on pace. Greg McDaniel in the third spot, with Dwayne MacArthur in the fourth position. Dwayne MacArthur currently sitting second in the championship order, not too far behind Josh Robinson, and looking to capitalize on that, as we will talk more a bit about that later on in the day. Dan Hill and Darryl Winiger in the third row, with Nick Ortner and Lee Wardstell our fourth row. John Hinchcliffe with Wayne Hufford starting alongside in the fifth row. Lloyd Moore and Brian Lynch in the sixth row. Lloyd Moore is our third place championship contender at the moment. Clint Rice and Courtney Nelson in the seventh row, with Dustin Martinson and Jim Smith alongside him in our eighth row. Victor Lane with Alan Wanamaker going to be starting off next to each other in our ninth row, with Mark Fish and Michael Dow in our 10th row. Troy Baker and Jeff Lydon in the 11th row. Dean Gear and Jonathan Thier. A nice rhyming party of names there in the 12th row. Our 13th row consisting of Patrick Martindale and Bruce Pearson, with Donnie Spiker and Clay Walker in our, I believe that's going to be the 14th row, as my broadcaster maths is failing me very slightly. William Martin getting an EOL to start this one, so he will be starting actually in the 31st position, as Dakota Pischke is going to be starting in that 29th spot, placing Martin, with Jeff Hopkins not being allowed to qualify as he is a triple number driver. That is all to go. We have a 5-point bonus for a 0x here at the Kimball Cup Series, as well as a 7-incident limit. That means you get 7 incidents, you are ejected, you are out of here, and you are not allowed to compete anymore. May seem harsh, but old bastards seem to keep the cars underneath them pretty well. As we get ready to rock and roll, and here we go. Tom Ogle getting a much better start than Josh Robinson there, and able to nail the gas really, really quickly. But it just doesn't seem to be enough on that high side line. Robinson able to stick his nose out in front and get right up on the back. As we go further back in the pack, Wayne Hufford is too wide still, with John Hinchcliffe right below him. They're going to be fighting there for the 9th place position. Hinchcliffe is going to take that one just barely away from Wayne Hufford. Hufford fires back. And they're still going to be side by side for the lead, as well as Ogle on the outside of Robinson, able to take it away. But not for long, as we have an accident at the back. And a caution is going to be coming out very, very quickly. Now, we haven't got a report of exactly who was involved in that one. It is showing up that Courtney Nelson may have been involved. So we're going to take a shot and a gander at that one, as he was very late to the party. Oh, yeah, just gets a little bit of a tap, and somehow... Oh, that's pretty epic in and of itself. That's some deja vu stuff, as the Hooters machine loses a hood. And she goes flying. All right, so we're going to take that one back for sure. And have a look at Wayne Hufford's machine, because he was one of the earlier ones involved in that one. Oh, and it's a 3-wide mess. Get a better camera angle for you. And... ooh, it's hard to assign blame on that one. I'm not so sure where that one's going to go, but I will say it just seemed like 3 cars trying to occupy a 2-car space. And the 26 Me machine, the 75 Newcastle-backed car, and Clint Rice up the top were all involved in that one. So that was Rice, Hufford, and Lloyd Moore were all involved in the initial impact. Victor Lane getting a little piece of the action there as well, not wanting to be left out. And it looks like he is going to come up and collect the 61 as well. So quite a few cars involved in that one. Wayne Hufford, Clay Walker, Lloyd Moore, Clint Rice, Brian Lynch, Dakota Pischke, Mark Fish, Courtney Nelson, Jim Smith, Victor Lane, and Wayne Hufford all involved. And that happened. I believe everyone would stay out at this point, as we've only had a couple of green flag laps, and it does look like that is the way it's going. They're letting us know there may be some words about that one behind the pit wall. Nothing too sinister, I'm sure, but a friendly disagreement. But yeah, definitely not the ideal scenario for either Wayne Hufford or Lloyd Moore, as both of those drivers were involved in the start of the wreck, really, but they're also both involved in the championship hunt. So that is going to be hurting them. The drivers in the championship hunt: Robinson, MacArthur, and Moore, your top 3 drivers. Of course, that might change after Moore's incident tonight. Dan Hill, Ryan Lynch in the 4th and 5th positions. With Alan Wanamaker, there's Wayne Hufford there. Greg McDaniel, Tom Ogle, and Mark Fish, your top 10 in order of where they are currently running.
Green flag, green flag.
And the green flag has come out. Here we go once again. Tom Ogle this time was going to be starting on the front row and gets a nice jump. Going to have to work some magic with the inside line there. The 11 machine is sporting a very interesting color blue in tonight's race. Wanting to stand out as much as possible. A little bit of a show off, if you ask me, but Tom Ogle is perfectly fine, as Dwayne MacArthur takes a nice look under the inside of Josh Robinson. Now, Josh Robinson, as always, has an insane amount of tyre saving ability. We should mention on that point that we have an average fuel window of 57 to 67 laps. I do not see anyone being able to go any further than 67 laps. That is at the absolute maximum. We will see drivers under green flag push these machines. A little bit further back, there's a side-by-side battle. Troy Baker and Alan Wanamaker, as they find themselves alongside for the 12th position. And it looks like Baker might be able to get that one done, but Wanamaker fires back on the outside. A little bit more of a run on that high side line. Wanamaker, another playoff driver, sitting in the mid-pack right now of those playoff 10. Certainly if he continues to make his way through races without having too many incidents or issues, that will be the thing to watch, as Dwayne MacArthur just set the fastest lap of the race. A 33.43, sitting right on the back bumper of Thomas Ogle. These two drivers always seem to find each other on track, and well known for having, let's say, some fun. As you can see, the cars all fan out behind. Look at that. Such a fantastic view, if you ask me. Seeing the cars fanning out through turn 2 and out of turn 4 right now. Looks like Ogle has gotten the better of MacArthur for the past lap and extended that gap by another 10th. Gonna have to see if it's just turns 1 and 2 where MacArthur is getting a lot lower down, you can see on the track. And it just seems to be to his advantage at the moment. As we're going to have to wait and see if that makes a whole heap of difference, as Greg McDaniel is not too far behind either. Well, potential move for the lead here. MacArthur thought about it, tucked back in behind Ogle just before the braking zone into T1. Keep an eye on that one as we cycle back to the 22nd position. Dakota Pischke joining the race for the first time in a while, a couple of weeks ago, I believe. Nice to see people returning, coming back to the Old Bastards Racing League after any potential hiatus. He is currently up 8 spots from where he started. You can see Lloyd Moore trying to recover from that incident earlier on just behind him. As we check back in with the battle for the lead, because the gap is closing slowly and steadily. Dwayne MacArthur seems to be picking up the pace. Ogle not wanting to push too hard at the moment, save everything he has. It seems that way at the moment, at least, as Ogle dives to the inside. Gonna make a pass for the move. There's certainly enough left there for him to stick the nose in. Gets alongside. Ogle is still going to be high on the outside, and he's going to have the run out of turn 3. Who's going to get it before the line? It's going to be interesting as they are still side by side. Not quite door to door yet, though, as MacArthur's going to have to dig a little bit deeper to keep that 11 machine at bay, and he does manage to scrap before the line. So Dwayne MacArthur, your leader after 14 laps. 13 laps, excuse me. We're on lap 14. Out of 140. Not sure if I mentioned that either tonight, but there you go. Better late than never. More Jim Smith letting us know that he's decided to retire after that initial incident. So that is absolutely heartbreaking to see. Thank you for joining us up here in the booth. Hopefully you stick around, maybe cheer on your fellow teammates or drivers. As the White Claw-backed machine of Tom Ogle is right behind Dwayne MacArthur. There's another food I've never had, a White Claw. Apparently they're really good too. I think that's a food. I'm pretty sure. Anyway. As we're going to keep one eye on the standing sheet for this one, as we so often do. As we thought Ogle might take a little bit of a look, as we said that, decided against it. We're going to go back to the 6th position and have a look at this. Dan Hill on the outside of Nick Zortner, just ahead with Darryl Winiger right alongside. And that's going to be close. Going to be Nick Zortner checking up Winiger on the inside line, and Hill is going to take absolute advantage. Be very happy to see it, as he's going to take both of those drivers in that move. And Dan Hill still alongside the 97, but he's going to take it away. Winiger just checks up right in front of Hinchcliffe. He's not going to be happy that his run was absolutely stunted there by the 15 machine. As we check back in with the leaders, because Ogle's taken a peek. To the inside line goes Tom Ogle. The DeWalt machine has to give way, and they change hands once again. Meanwhile, every driver seems to have fallen off a little bit, starting from Josh Robinson in the 4th position. But McDaniel, sitting there in the 3rd spot, just watching this unfold. Absolutely enjoying the race unfolding ahead of him. I just can't get enough of that shot. Watching these cars fan out behind at the back of shot through the corner absolutely looks amazing to my eye. And I hope to yours as well. As we have a very, very close battle forming up here in the 27th position. Patrick Martindale and Mark Fish side by side. Martindale coming very, very low. Not sure if that was a tactical move or not, but it seems like he's retained the position for the moment. A little bit close, I think, to Fish there. Some struggles worked out with these back markers, but it seems like everything is working out pretty well for the moment. That is the complete wrong camera angle, so we're going to have to find the guy who chose us that one and have a word with him. As Martindale and Fish continue to be side by side, we check back in the front lead, because have a look at this. MacArthur again to the inside, and again in turn 3. It seems to be the one to do it. MacArthur last made the move into turn 1, but Ogle fired back in turn 3 last time. These two changed hands. And within the space of 10 laps, hands have changed 3 times between these two drivers. McDaniel starting to fall back ever so slightly, potentially deciding to save up his tyres. John Hinchcliffe in the 7th position alongside now with Nick Zortner right alongside. Dan Hill has a little bit of a checkup. Oh, and Zortner gets right in front of Hinchcliffe. That's going to end badly. Somehow doesn't end as badly as we thought. Unbelievable driving from Zortner. Great job to keep that thing pointed in the right direction. It has to be said. Falling down the standings, down to 12th position from the 7th spot. But you've got to give him credit for that one. What a save, as they would say. As now Troy Baker finds himself passing John Hinchcliffe, who also was very much slowed up by that. It's been 23 laps so far, and your biggest mover, Donnie the Man Spiker. Spiker up into the 13th spot, 14 positions where he started. He has progressed through the field very quickly with the Nuka-Cola backed machine. I say, always a fan of a lot of the paint jobs here, but that's probably one of my favorite. Shout out to Bethesda on that one. As the battle for the lead continues, Tom Ogle finding himself all on the back bumper of Dwayne MacArthur again. Jim Smith was saying earlier on that I should consider myself fortunate that I avoided White Claw. So maybe I should. Fletcher Hillman Jr. joining us. Let's go 74. 74 machine of Alan Wanamaker, currently sitting in the 19th position. Having a pretty strong day out. Definitely a playoff contender. And we see time and again that he just seems to have pretty consistent finishes. Yet to win a race this season, but absolutely done the hard yards regardless, as he follows behind in the wake of the Piggly Wiggly machine just ahead of Jeff Lydon. Arthur and Ogle continue to be nose to tail. We don't want to stray too far away from this battle because we know that these drivers have a history together as they continue side by side. Here we go, jumping out of the draft. It looked like Ogle might decide to try and make a move. And yes, to the inside dives Ogle. And once again, the hands have been changed around. At this point, you almost wonder if they're working together in a weird way, as they will be saving a bit of fuel if they keep doing this, rather than filling with that air being pushed right into their machine and no one else's. If you can retain being behind someone, I mean, you'll be saving a little bit of fuel here and there, staying in their draft. That is a very interesting. I know they won't be working together on that one. It almost seems like it. So as we check back in, because there are still battles going around, John Hinchcliffe still trying to work his way back up after that incident with Zortner earlier on. Currently sitting at P9. Troy Baker has made his way up 13 positions. It's about to be 12 if John Hinchcliffe has anything to say about it. And goes around using the high side there to really make his way around. It looks like Clint Reist, driver we all know and love for the high side, being on that high side and making his way around there as well. Nick Zortner now has found his way up to the back of Troy Baker, and he's going to dive to the inside. So Zortner up to the 9th spot. Whoa, a little bit of a bobble from Baker. Almost headed right into the quarter panel of Nick Zortner just ahead. Thankfully avoids him and gets on the brakes just a tad to shorten that thing up. Get it all sorted. Patrick Martindale has been registered as having an incident. We're still under green, but we'll have a quick look at what happened to Martindale, as he was on the low side of the track, coming out of 4. I think he was attempting to come down pit lane and just, oh, and that is a very, very heavy hit. The left side is going to be reeling from that impact. Patrick Martindale not going to be happy with the way that machine came off the banking. And that has to be said as we watch Bruce Pearson right now in the 23rd spot. It has to be said that the banking as you make your way down into the quote-unquote hot pit into the pit road here out of turn 4, as it looks like that's what he was attempting to do. That banking, if you keep 2 tires on that as the other 2 come down onto the apron, that can definitely make the car spin around as it very much unbalances you. As the banking is turning you faster than the apron is able to. You're going to have to watch the angle of your approach to pit entry here at Homestead Miami Speedway. Looked like Clay Walker was able to get around Bruce Peterson. By around, I mean underneath. As a little bit further up, Michael Dow has made his way past the Piggly Wiggly machine of Lydon. Lydon trying to fire back, though, on that high side line. I really shouldn't be assigning favorites or anything like that, but I do think Piggly Wiggly is my favorite sponsor of all of these machines. 39 car knows what he is doing. As he continues to work on Michael Dow. The field has started to stretch out just a little bit. It looks like this is our closest battle on track at the moment. Speaking of close battles on track, here comes William Martin at the back of Fish. Fish closes the door. Martin's going to have to look for somewhere else to pass as we go on board with the Martin man himself. See a fair bit of traffic ahead. That's Mark Fish, Bruce Pearson, Clay Walker, all in front of William Martin. Choosing a little bit of a higher line. Not sure if that was by choice or a bit of understeer as these cars continue to make their way around the track. They develop quite a bit of understeer. And it is certainly not helping any of these drivers to help their turn in. Back up at the front of the field, Nick Zortner and Hinchcliffe find themselves next to each other again. Battling for the 8th position. Zortner took it back away from Hinchcliffe earlier on. And Hinchcliffe fighting hard. Come back behind Zortner, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough. And Troy Baker falls a little bit of a way down the standings. Not sure if he's super happy with how the car is feeling right now. Down to the 13th spot for Baker. To be said, Jeff Hoppy Hopkins is in a very interesting McDonald's livery. I believe that mascot's called Grimace, if I'm... Is that correct? I feel like that's correct, the purple one. And, oh, the 101 machine just tagging the outside wall, just a tad there. You can see struggling with that understeer we were talking about earlier on. These cars just not wanting to turn as well as they were earlier in the race. And the 101 machine, the only triple number driver out on track at the moment, living his best life, turning some laps. Currently sitting in the 25th position. 26th position, I should say. But doing a good job, just getting out there, racing clean, nothing too worried about, as he tags the wall once again after I said racing clean, because me as a broadcaster wouldn't do that to people. So we'll back away from that one and have a look at Clint Rice battle with Winiger instead. Darryl Winiger caught up to Clint Rice. Rice, one of those drivers who is very, very quick, always stays at the top of the racetrack. Fortunately, just seems to struggle with getting himself into the top spot. As he said to us, I believe, last week, sick and tired of finishing in the 3rd spot, and I can't blame him. He's had quite a few of them thus far. But always one to take the high line and use it fairly successfully for the most part. But losing distance right now to Winiger, who seems to be able to be one of the few cars who are able to actually turn down. Now, I wonder if that's anything attributed to the fact that I was going to say Winiger, but I've read that slightly wrong. It was actually Clint Rice who was the only driver in the top 10 spots who came down pit road during that caution. Now, if you're just joining us once again, thank you very much for tuning in to the Old Bastards Racing League Kimball Cup Series here at Homestead, Miami Speedway. Thank you very much for tuning in. And we're going to see if we can get some more action for you as Dean Gear and Wayne Hufford are going for a battle for the 13th position. The field stretching out a little bit. Lloyd Moore not too far behind, as he's trying to recover with Wayne Hufford from that earlier incident. First incident of the night that caused that caution. I believe Patrick Martindale, after that earlier incident where he clipped the inside wall, I say clipped, let's say clipped, it sounds better. He is done and out of the session, I believe, at this point. As well as Jim Smith. I believe they are the only 2 retirees at this point. So still having 29 cars on track. It certainly ain't bad at all. As Dakota Grandpa Pischke has just made his way past Alan Wanamaker. And our first green flag stops of the night. Here they begin. Troy Baker, John Hinchcliffe down pit road. Both those drivers were sitting in the top 10. And yeah, go. I was going to say if they're there for extended stays, but it looks like they're out pretty timely. Lee Warsdale also making his way down pit road. Check back in. Our closest battle on track, Michael Dow, Jonathan Thier, and Jeff Lydon, the Piggly Wiggly, is up there as well. See Troy Baker just coming off pit road. As the Piggly Wiggly machine is trying to sniff the best line around this track to keep in front of Michael Dow and Jonathan Thier. Down pit road, Tom Ogle, as well as Darryl Winiger, Nick Zortner, Clint Rice, and Donnie Spiker. Dustin Martinson as well, coming down pit road. All these drivers taking what tyres and fuel. Some early stops here tonight. Tyre wear definitely a factor in that one. But Tom Ogle has come down pit road. Alan Wanamaker's just made his way down. Reason why we're so interested in Ogle coming down pit road, because we are wondering where that has left Wayne MacArthur, as he is staying out for the long run. This point of the race, probably not that bad a decision. Definitely one to watch as Dean Gear makes his way down pit road. Warren Hufford still side by side once again. This has got to bring back some memories from earlier in the race, especially as they head out of turn 2 onto the back straight. And in comes Hufford, relinquishing that spot to Wade Moore. Check back in on the leader, and around goes Wayne MacArthur, having no troubles at all at the moment, just doing his thing, making his way around. But I've got to wonder, Tom Ogle coming in very early, that is going to have an impact. Jeff Lydon has come down pit road. So currently Tom Ogle sitting in the 13th place position. He will be one to watch. He was the first car down pit road during this cycle. So battle heats up. Look at this, for the 7th place position, Michael Dow and Dakota Pischke. They have been side by side for a little while now, very close together. Looks like Victor Lane is not too far behind them. That is not for position. As Bruce Pearson makes his way down pit road. Dakota stays out another time. Getting very, very close on the rear bumper of Michael Dow was Pischke. And he's going to make that pass happen for Machine. It's in a good state of mind right now, up 23 positions. Of course, pit cycle has got a little bit to do with that. But still making his way around quite quickly. Give you an idea of the pace difference last time by, Dwayne MacArthur with a 34.36. And Tom Ogle last time by with a 33.84. So almost, in fact just over a half a second a lap difference with fresh tyres. That is ginormous in a track that only takes you about 35 seconds to get around. Those add up very, very quickly. As Michael Dow now under fire from Mark Fish. Fish is going to take the inside line without too many worries. Victor Lane shoots down to the inside of the track. Little bit of a bubble there for Victor Lane. And it's nice to see right next to him, just in front of him I should say, the Hooters machine has its top back on. as the Piggly Wiggly machine is trying to snort its way around. Closest battle on track as we are at lap 60 of 140. Clay Walker with Mark Fish breathing down his neck. Michael Dow finally comes down pit road. Lap 60 of this race. Remember, our pit window is sitting at a maximum estimated distance of 67 laps. We did have a caution to maybe bring that up one more lap, but I'm not sure it's going to be much further, as MacArthur still hangs it out at the front, and so do top 9 drivers. Ogle, sitting in the 10th position, has come down and made his stop. Walker still has Mark Fish just there. Hufford has come down pit road, so he's not going to be a factor in this one. Still not able to get around as quickly as we thought is Wayne Hufford. Finally does, so Clay Walker still got Mark Fish sitting right behind. Take a little bit of a different perspective on things, I think. Off the back of the 2 machine of Clay Walker's car. Just a little blip of the throttle there. See Lloyd Moore as well as Mark Fish, not too far behind. Mark Fish fighting for position. Lloyd Moore just making his way back around, not fighting for a spot as of yet. I love these shots, a real sense of speed as they get real close to the ground. As we say, sense of speed. Let's see if we can get through that ever elusive speed machine. And there it is. I say speed machine like I don't know what I'm talking about. Speed machine, of course, referring to our telemetry. Not our telemetry. What do you call it? Tachometer? I believe that's what it's called. Anyway, speed readout measuring thingy. As Clay Walker makes his way around, you can see Tom Ogle has made his way in between those 2 battling machines. And through goes Ogle. Not enough room to get these machines up to 5th gear, as it would seem. But 4th seems to be doing the absolute treat right now. And we have hit lap 67. Greg McDaniel coming down pit road. Lap 68. Arthur's going to go around another time. I cannot believe that these drivers are still going. They have to be getting so close to the end of their fuel run. That looks like Victor Lane has come down once again. That is his first stop, I believe, since the incident earlier on. And it looks like I may have been proven wrong. I highly doubted that they were going to go any further than that. Once again, these drivers know how to prove me wrong, as they consistently do it week in and week out. Surely MacArthur's coming down this time by. Dan Hill has made his way down pit road. MacArthur's staying out again. That thing must be on fumes, that DeWalt machine. The 83 car. I cannot imagine he would have a whole lot more. Surely coming down this time. And there it is. Lane MacArthur making his way in on the cusp of lap 70. Of course, the Alien Robinson going to stay out one more lap. Always has to prove himself an extra little bit. Lloyd Moore, will he come down in the third place position? No, he's going to stay out as well. Through goes Tom Ogle. So definitely some strategy in play here. You've almost got to wonder if these drivers are thinking, right, just got to make our way to the halfway mark, which we've done. And if we get one more caution towards the later part of the race, they may be able to save enough, judging from what they've already done, that they will be able to go the distance on a second tank of fuel. Whereas Ogle will have to pit one more time to be able to make it to the end. So that could be a big strategy call. That could be the reason why they tried to stay out as long as they could. Robinson, you're going to have to come in, buddy. There is no way. How? Now we have seen that these Fords do seem to have a little bit, I don't want to say that they've got a bit more of a fuel tank, but it does seem like the Fords have a tiny bit of an advantage on that, whether the drivers are just more accustomed to pressing the throttle that ever a little bit weaker. We are not so sure, but Robinson, yes, doing what Robinson does. He's definitely coming in this time by. Oh, heavy on the brakes, able to lock it down. In he comes. Well, I say able to lock it down. Definitely locking down. As Lloyd Moore stayed out as well. Moore did take that stop on lap 3 though, so he's able to go around for a couple more laps if Josh Robinson's fuel window is anything to go by. Mayo doesn't want to be called Shirley. I said Shirley. Maybe I did say Shirley. Guess you'll never know. Aha! As Moore makes his way down pit road, Tom Ogle takes over the lead. You can see Ogle was right on the bumper of Moore as Moore made his way down pit road. So a huge lead for Ogle, but gonna have to stop one more time. So how this one works out is anybody's guess. I will say, if we have a yellow flag, that is probably going to really hurt Tom Ogle. And if we do see a yellow flag, the question again is going to be, will Robinson do what Robinson does and only take 2 tyres? Because that seems to be his go-to strategy, and it seems to work more often than not. So I have to wonder if it'll work again. Just over the halfway mark in this race. And here comes Robinson at the back bumper of Lee Warsdale. Still staying high, and Robinson says, "Thank you very much. I will take that away." Choosing a pink number this week, as he has, I believe, the last couple of weeks. Just wants to make himself different, I guess. That's a good question, Jeremy. I completely agree with you on that one. So in the post-race interviews, Jeremy Mayo is letting us know that he wants to hear, if Tom Ogle makes it, of course, we're going to hear from him what possessed him to copy the paint scheme of Wayne Hufford's machine. Just to give you an idea, that's what Ogle's machine looks like. Now we'll go to... I chose the wrong car entirely. There we go, Hufford. Right behind. And there you go. Seems a bit suspicious to me. Yep. That looks like as blatant a copy as I've ever seen. Anyway, as we are talking baloney, Josh Robinson sets the fastest lap of the race with a 1:7, which I believe may be faster than the qualifying time that he set to start on pole, which is certainly something. Catching up to some traffic now, though. Gonna have to be careful weaving his way through. And since he set the fastest lap of the race, let's go get onto that good old nose camera just after he passes John Hinchcliffe. As Hinchcliffe goes to the outside line, trying to get the run. Not sure it's going to be enough to fight off Robinson, though, as Robinson just seems like he's in another class right now. Have a look, as we were saying. Here we go, get a sense of speed in this one. Up to 170 mile an hour, crossing the line, almost to 180. As we back it down into turn 1, 142 miles an hour it looked like. I think I saw it hit just for a brief moment there. So we're working our way back up to 170. And just underneath 180, so the front stretch just a little bit quicker than the back stretch. And turns 3 and 4 just a little bit slower, interestingly enough, though. See what kind of speed he can get up to on this one. Yeah, so definitely able to send it into turns 1 and 2 a little bit deeper than 3 and 4 from what we are seeing with Josh Robinson. As he makes his way past Martindale, up on the high side up there. I'm not sure if you could hear that, probably not, because I think it's a little bit muted as we're inside the car. But that sounded like quite a lot of wheel spin coming out of the 23 machine as he was heading into turn 1 just then. That sounded very interesting indeed. A little bit of wheel hop, but it looks like he was able to keep it underneath him. John Hinchcliffe is down pit road once again. But 8 machine stops perfectly in his pit box. Steen here and Lloyd Moore have a bit of a battle going past pit road. It looks like Lloyd Moore's going to take advantage. Take that spot away. That was for the 12th position. Greg McDaniel sitting in 3rd spot. He's got some Clint Rice for some company. Riced up 9 spots. McDaniel still very solid in the biggermoose.org machine. Sitting in that 3rd position where he has been pretty much the entirety of the race, barring pit cycle. Just clicking off laps and clicking them off well. The number 1 machine just goes about his business and has claimed a huge gap over Rice right now. MacArthur closing said gap as MacArthur has come out of the pits a little bit further back than I'm sure he wanted to see in the 5th place position. However, pit cycles alone be helping it, and he has come out ahead of Josh Robinson as he did make that pit probably, I want to say, how many laps? Actually got the time here, so I don't even have to guess. 3 laps ahead of when Josh Robinson came into pit. Those 3 laps seem to have made a huge difference in terms of, well, just in terms of where they are on track, I guess. Keep the flow going, heading into lap 90 and 140. Lap 90 is calling our name. Show me 50 to go. There it is. As Tom Ogle down pit road. He's coming down to do his final stop of the race. Barring any cautions, of course. That allows Greg McDaniel to take over the race lead. Just ahead of him, William Martin in the 94 machine goes up high and lets the leader through. Has to be said, Old Bastards Racing League has incredibly respectful drivers, and they know exactly what to expect from one another. They do so without an issue as Winiger makes his way down pit road. Getting that thing down to its speed very clean. Its speed a meager 45 miles an hour here at Homestead Miami Speedway. Camera being all sorts of shaken as MacArthur makes his way by. Daryl Winiger, as we said, with Nick Ortner and Clint Rice have all made their way down pit road. So will the three stop strategy work better than the 2-stop? You'd have to wonder if a caution comes out after these guys have done their stops. That will probably benefit the 3-tire stop more than the 2-tire stop, as now that they've completed their tire changes and they've got enough fuel to the end, they won't have to come down under caution. And even though the 2-stoppers won't have to either, probably recommend it with how old the tires would be. So it would certainly be interesting to see how that one shakes itself around. Jeremy Mayer, that's exactly the case that we were just pointing out. The 11 machine of Tom Ogle is the first car out on track that is on a 2-stop strategy. I was saying 2-stop and 3-stop. What I meant was a 1-stop and a 2-stop. So I did fumble my words around, but I was aiming for the correct way of saying things. And you are right, the 83 of Dwayne MacArthur, as well as the 23 of Josh Robinson. They will not have to come down pit road again. Greg McDaniel. Now that's an interesting decision because... sorry, not an interesting decision, an interesting one to watch because McDaniel came in just before the halfway mark by a couple of laps. That's making me wonder if he can save up enough to make it to the end. Of course, the change of hands just happened there. Wayne MacArthur taking back over the race league from Greg McDaniel. Wayne Hufford down pit road. His second stop of the night. Current running order: MacArthur, McDaniel, Robinson, Lee Warsdale, Troy Baker, Tom Ogle, Lloyd Moore, Dean Gear, Dakota Pischke, and Jonathan Thier. Those are your current running order for the top 10 positions. Out on track, of course, a little bit of contention for some of them. Quite namely, Greg McDaniel has turned on the jets and is not too far behind MacArthur once again. And MacArthur may have been held up a little bit by lap traffic there from the Nuka-Cola machine. Going well high to stay out of the way, but it looks like MacArthur just doesn't have the pace. The 83 just wants him to go by. And that gets sorted out. Say 83, of course it was 53. My eyes are deceiving me once again. Realize there is no 83 car on track except for Wayne MacArthur, who is pretty obvious that's 83 at this point. My apologies. As Greg McDaniel continues to try and find a way back, fighting MacArthur for the lead. Jonathan Thier falls back down the standings just a little bit, it looks like, as a whole bunch of cars are right near each other. 3 wide for a moment, almost getting collected there. Jonathan Thier and Mark Fish getting very close to touching as they were behind Michael Dow, both fighting for that slipstream behind Michael Dow's 60 machine. And Thier may send it up the inside, decides against it on Mark Fish. Don't look now, but here comes Ogle and Warsdale. Now, Warsdale hasn't stopped during this cycle at all yet, which is very interesting to see. So he must be getting very close to the end of his fuel run. And Hill making his way up through the standings as well, as he makes his way underneath Dean Gear in the Fox Sports machine. close battles have really developed all of a sudden as Jonathan Thier and Clint Rice to side by side. Rice now taking over the 12th position from Mark Fish. That high side to his advantage. As we so often see, and McDaniel still lurking around the back of Wayne MacArthur. I just said Wayne MacArthur. Keep myself on form following in the action as we have 35 laps to go in this one. Wayne MacArthur and Greg McDaniel still your leading two by a considerable, almost 3-second gap to Josh Robinson behind. And Ogle still trying to work his way, as Jeremy Mayo said earlier, trying to work his way back up to the front three, as he had to pit an extra time on his strategy. And interesting to see Ogle and Robinson choosing two different strategies now that we think about it. These two teammates always talking to each other, working together to decide which is the better strategy. Looks like they've chosen different options this time around. As we said, Greg McDaniel, if I am remembering this correctly, is on the same team as MacArthur, just in front. Although choosing a Toyota instead of a Chevy. I believe I'm right in saying that. I'm sure Mayo will correct me and probably tell me that a bit of a numpty I got that wrong. Well, Jeremy Mayo just letting us know that he wants to check the interval between Ogle and MacArthur. Well, just to let you know, I'm pretty sure. Let's see if we can open that one up, because that would be really cool. I'll work out. Nope, that's not. Okay. Mind, I thought I could do something interesting. Turns out, not as interesting as I thought it was. But that's okay. It does look like a gap between MacArthur and Ogle. Now that we are at lap 110 as requested, Mayo. We have Arthur is about, if my math serves me right, broadcaster math is always the greatest, as we all know. So MacArthur sitting around about, pretty much, I would say that's at a best guess, about 16 and a half. Sorry, 17 and a half. Which is kind of what you were aiming for anyway. I'll give you the numbers so you can be definitely better at than me, I must admit. Math, probably my weakest suit. Ogle currently sitting just under 15 seconds behind Robinson. In turn, sitting second behind McDaniel as I say that. McDaniel coming down pit road. John Hastings coming and joining the chat. Hastings, thank you very much for joining in. That is something that I did consider at the time, but have forgotten a little bit about, if I'm honest. John Hastings reminding us that these drivers went as far as they did using a caution, which will save them, on average, I'd say a couple of laps of fuel. And if MacArthur made it exactly halfway, that's going to test him. Josh Robinson, I believe, might still be good. He came in 3 laps after MacArthur at lap 73. So I believe that he will still make it to the end. It's going to be close, though. Now, Tom Ogle is closing that gap, but not as quickly as we expected. It's certainly turning interesting. We only have 4 cars on the lead lap. That's the kind of pace that these leaders are absolutely sending. As we take a look back at Mark Fish and Nick Zortner fighting for the 11th place spot. As we were saying at the top of the show, you know, Mark Fish, just one of those drivers that doesn't seem to get a whole lot of screen time because he's often the mid-pack, and then somehow, through some means, he finds himself up near the front toward the end of the race. That never give up attitude, very strong with Mark Fish, and always seems to use it to the best of advantage. Unfortunately, dropping back a little bit to Zortner now. Mark Fish also coming down pit road at the same time as Josh Robinson. Nick Zortner trying to make his way around the outside of Clay Walker, and does so. Biggest mover of the race. There he is, Dakota Pischke for Machine. Sponsored by the company that, let's just say was sponsored by Bush. And, yep, in the 9th position, up 21 spots where he started. So doing a fantastic job there. As I must say, Bush Light, not probably as bad as the other company I was thinking of. But I will say that I've never had a Bush. I have had a Budweiser. I tried it out for the first time when I was in the States. Even though I technically wasn't allowed to drink. I will admit that, because it's very annoying that I'm allowed to drink at 18 in the good old Aussie land, but I wasn't able to buy any alcohol over in the States, although I was allowed to obviously have some at home. And I can admit that now because I'm not in the States anymore. As McDaniel gets checked up big time. Darrell Winniger just in front. And he's not going to be too happy that his run was cut off. He was making his way back through the pack underneath Dan Hill, and now finally gets past Winniger. Greg McDaniel in the same sort of situation. He came down pit road lap 111, so he is the only one that is, I would say, guaranteed, no questions asked, to make it to the end. Tom Ogle is looking very, very good. Josh Robinson on the edge, and Dwayne MacArthur on the edge, on the wrong side of that edge, it must be said. And look at the gap between Robinson and MacArthur now. It is dropping. Ogle has not been able to close the gap as quickly as we expected. We said that earlier on, and it looks like it seems to be maintaining that same sort of gap at around 15 seconds. He can't seem to drop it any further than that. So not sure if Ogle's going to have enough to catch up to these front two. The question is MacArthur has MacArthur got enough fuel in the tank? McDaniel races his lap back the hard way, and he makes it back to 5 cars on the lead lap. Nice little battle box there showing you just briefly on the bottom right of screen where Robinson is really making that time up. It seems like on corner exits, slowly but surely gaining that time, using the draft to his advantage, but corner entry is really where he's gaining it. Look at the delta come down. Mid-corner though, MacArthur seems to have the advantage. Sitting around a half a second gap. And Robinson is catching up quite quickly indeed. There goes the 23, you can see it. I'm sure he is absolutely on rails right now is Josh Robinson. Trying to work out where we were going with that sentence, but Robinson right on the back bumper. And this is only going to scare Dwayne MacArthur as Robinson goes to the inside. Gonna make a dive side by side. They're almost touching doors. The 83 trying to pinch the 23 down. It's not going to be enough. Gives enough room. Robinson takes over the lead with 14 laps to go. Still side by side heading into turn 1. Into the middle of the corner out of turn 2. MacArthur has to give. MacArthur gives up the spot but tries to fight back on the high line. Look at the run mid-corner. Has to check it on up. And that allows Robinson to once again retain the lead. Robinson has taken over in a big way as he's already increased that gap to 0.3 of a second. As Dwayne MacArthur has to be on full saving strategy right now. That fuel saving strategy is possibly going to relent this win once again to Josh Robinson. who decided to take 4 tyres this time by, rather than just the 2 we've seen in races past. Which is probably a smart move, considering that he had to go almost half race distance. And it looks like ever since Robinson got back in front of Dwayne, he has lifted off the gas pedal just a tad to save the fuel necessary to make it to the end. And it looks like that might be what's going through his head, which makes me think if Dwayne MacArthur, who pitted 3 laps, remember, earlier than Josh Robinson, he's going to be able to do anything in his power to catch back up to Robinson. This all is barring a late race caution, mind you, which we have seen in this past season. Which would really throw a spanner in the works. Josh Robinson extending the gap to half a second now. So Dwayne MacArthur almost looks on. I'm sure MacArthur will be fuming. He keeps on finding himself in these situations where he is in a winning contention position and finds himself losing out to Josh Robinson right at the pinnacle moment. So I'm sure we will hear about that once again, as just like last week, it looks like these two will be finishing 1 and 2 in the same order again. Ogle has caught these two, but the gap has only shrunk down to 13 seconds, so nowhere near enough. If we don't get a caution, this will be the way it stays for the top 3. Go further back in the pack for now, as Alan Wanamaker is trying to fight to catch up to the Piggly Wiggly machine of Jeff Lydon. The 20th position. Wanamaker, another driver that is in championship contention here tonight. Take a quick look at where they are all sitting. So Josh Robinson sitting in the number 1 spot right now in championship contention. Also number 1 for championship contention. Dwayne MacArthur sitting in the 2nd place and also 2nd for championship contention. Lloyd Moore in 3rd in the championship run. Done an amazing job working his way back up through the field after that earlier incident. Dan Hill sitting in the 7th spot. Ryan Lynch is, I'm sure he's somewhere down in the 27th position. We saw earlier on the Hooters machine had a rough go of it tonight. So unfortunately, that is not going to be what he has wanted to see. Alan Wanamaker, as we said earlier, in the 21st position. Wayne Hufford sitting in the 17th spot, doing a commendable job there. Greg McDaniel sitting in 4th. He has had a very carefree race up to this point. Tom Ogle has had a great race. Unfortunately, strategy has not fallen his way so far tonight, barring, as we say, a very late caution in the last 4 laps of the race. And Mark Fish, who, as we said earlier on, has had a pretty stellar performance. He's running his own race. Sitting in the 11th spot right now. Robinson has opened that gap between himself and MacArthur by 1 whole second at this point. As the closest battle is on track right here between Mark Fish and Clay Walker. See Clay Walker there on the high side, trying something. Oh, someone riding the wall, Ross Chastain style. That is Dean Gear. Not sure that's going to work all that well here at Homestead Miami Speedway. But next week we go to Martinsville. So that'll be interesting what the rules are on that one. Gonna have to get some insight on that before we head over to next week. But we jump on and watch the leader go around once again as he gets the white flag. The final lap of the race has commenced, with only one caution coming all the way back at lap 2. Purely on fuel strategy as well as pace, of course, but fuel strategy definitely playing its role as Josh Robinson is going to take the checkered flag. As I fumble for my words, Dwayne MacArthur closed that gap back up to just over half a second on the final couple of laps, but not enough to make it, and Tom Ogle going to be rounding out our top 3. And that was the race. And what a good one it was as we get ready to watch Josh Robinson burn it down just after they take the photo for the top 3 spots, as we've seen the true titans of the Kimball Cup Series making their way through to take that photo. We will pull up the race results for you here. As there we go. Josh Robinson taking it home, the first place spot. Dwayne MacArthur not too far behind, but he's not going to be happy about seeing the back bumper of the 23 machine once again. Tom Ogle making it a 2-place podium for Team Miata. Greg McDaniel, Last Ditch Racing. So I was right. Thank you to my brain for remembering. He is on the same team as Dwayne Arthur, sitting in the 4th spot, with Lloyd Moore in 5th. We will run through the grid, or the results, I should say, and you can have a look at where your favorite driver may have ended up in this one as we prepare for driver interviews. Don't go anywhere. Looks like we've got Tom Ogle up here in the waiting room to receive his interview. So we're going to go up and get that ready right away, as we need no dilly-dally. Tom Ogle bringing it home in the 3rd place position. Nice to have you back. We missed you last week. How was that race from your perspective?
It was good. I had good speed. I was happy with my car. I mean, I had good tire wear. I just cannot get any fuel. I was going to be 2 or 3 laps short. I was talking to Josh the whole time. He had 1 lap to the good, but they split it in half, but we had that caution the first half of the race. So I wasn't sure if they could make it even.
Well, I was wondering that myself, and I was very surprised that Dwayne MacArthur was able to make it towards the end as he pit a few laps earlier than Robinson. But I will say that you and Robinson split your strategies, which is very unusual for Team Miata. What was the decision there? Were you just not certain you were going to make it on fuel?
I know that I can't. I kind of go into, I was like, listen, I'm splitting the race 3 ways because I can't make it. Anytime it's close, I get horrible fuel mileage. I'm not sure why. I mean, just because I guess I'm a hammerhead and don't have any finesse. But so I just was like, I'm going to run my race and let the chips fall. I didn't know how many guys were going to make it. I was just hoping to get back to the top 10 on speed. I didn't expect to end up third. So, like, I'm really happy with third considering I had to make an extra pit stop.
Yeah, definitely nothing to sneeze at. Greg McDaniel followed you through with that strategy as well and got a fourth as well. So it did seem to work for some drivers and unfortunately not for others, but that is the way the cookie
Right.
crumbles sometimes.
Yes.
Now we did hear.
I
Oh, yep, sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I was going to say we did hear from Jeremy Mayo. He really wanted us to ask you what was the decision behind copying Wayne Hufford's paint scheme tonight.
Well, the flock is Wayne's group, and they were kind of on me a little bit for rough driving and stuff. So I figured I could stay off the radar if I blended in. That was the idea. I was just trying to blend in and stay off the radar of the flock.
Well, it seems to
If
work
you
pretty
can't beat
well.
them, join them.
Yeah, no, that's a very good strategy. I'm not sure Wayne's going to be too happy with seeing someone else copying his paint scheme around, though. I'm not sure if you've put yourself back on the radar now.
Maybe, could be. Maybe
Uh,
I don't mind being on the radar. You never know.
ooh, strong words from Tom Ogle. I hope Wayne Hufford is listening into that one. But Tom, before we
Yeah.
let you go, who would you like to shout out, sign off with? Sponsors, friends, family. The floor's yours. Third place, nothing to sneeze at.
No, good race. Great race, everybody. The way practice went, I'm shocked we didn't have a bunch more cautions. I want to thank all the guys that run the league and put in all the hours of work, Dwayne and all the admins, sponsors, Kimball, and you guys for broadcasting it. And Wayne for always pointing out any mistake Team Miata makes,
Sounds good
whether
to
we're in the
me.
race or not.
Yeah, well, sounds good to me. Yeah, Tom, it's good to have you
Uh,
back in the league, and I'm
hey,
sure we'll see you
welcome
next
back
week.
to you.
Oh, thank you. I mean,
Yep, no
I
problem.
was here last week. Where were you?
You were gone a couple weeks.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
you get sick or you have internet issues. The
sure, I understand.
joys of living in Australia. Everything wants to bite me, and the internet's terrible. We work
Right.
with it.
All right, no worries. Have a great night.
All right, you too, Tom. Good to speak to you.
Yep, thank you. Yep.
All right, that was Tom Ogle bringing it home in the third place spot. Up next, Dwayne the Man MacArthur. Now, Dwayne showing the rest of the Americans out on track that Canada has some speed in that machine, but unfortunately just proving up short to Josh Robinson once again.
Yeah, that's okay. Second place is good.
Yeah, now this is going to help you, obviously, with the second place finish. Unfortunately, Robinson ahead of you by 12 points at the beginning of this race. Heading into the championship, Josh is obviously going to extend that a little bit further. Must be a little bit frustrating, but rather than stick on the negative, let's go with the positive. I was super surprised that you were able to stay with that fuel all the way to the end from that one stop. As you had the caution come out, you pit right at the halfway mark, and I thought there was no way you were going to make it to the end.
Yeah, it was tight. I didn't really have enough fuel. That's why Josh was able to run me down, and when he got to me, I didn't have enough fuel to race him. Kind of had to let him go and make it look good for the broadcast, but would have liked I don't know, point 1 gallons more fuel would have been great. Maybe I could have raced him, but yeah, otherwise it's a good race. I think he ends up getting 3 points on me now, so it'll be it's a big mountain to climb.
Yeah, definitely looks that way, but certainly not out of the woods yet, it must be said. Still 2 races to go, and one of them is Martinsville, which we know anything can happen. What is the ruling on Martinsville, just speaking of, what's the ruling on using the Ross Chastain move around there?
Yeah, that won't be very valuable. You'll lose all your bonus points for the incidents and everything. It pretty much won't be worth it to even try, even if we're gonna allow you to do it.
All right, sounds like some straight up answer, and we like that. So we will let you go, Dwayne. But before we do, anyone you'd like to shout out, friends, family, sponsors, the floor's yours.
Yeah, just the sponsors, Kimball, Aologs, Butt Kicker, Admin Box, Victory Lane Sports, Team Goon Squad, and shout out to everybody in the league. It was a good race. Great job by everybody out there, and see you next time.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Dwayne. Have a good one, and I'm sure we'll see you up here in the again before this year's over.
Hopefully. See you, bud.
All right, see you, Dwayne. So that was Dwayne MacArthur bringing it home in the second spot. And we have Josh Robinson once again with a win to his name. The alien coming back with the nickname that absolutely suits you, Josh. How did you manage to track down the 83 machine again this race?
Things just everything went right on that second stint. How you doing tonight, Gareth?
I'm doing good, man. I bet I'm not doing as good as you right now, though. You must be
Yeah,
feeling
so
absolutely elated.
yeah, I'm definitely pretty pumped about that. So that first stint, since we had that caution super early in the race, I was able to save a couple extra laps, so I didn't have to pit until we went into lap 74. So I was +4, and then I saved as soon as I came out of that stint, that second run, and was able to. Uh, by doing that, when I got to Dwayne, I was able to go. I didn't have to save anymore, so that was super lucky.
Yeah, now that seemed to be the winning strategy for sure because it sounded like Dwayne did the opposite, had to save towards the end, and that didn't pay off quite as well, Josh. And you pipped him at the line once again, getting close to like the last 20 laps of a race. So I'm sure he is getting sick and tired of that one. But before we say any more about that, Josh, I want to ask, what was the preferred line here? Because we saw you staying down low the whole time, but we did see the occasional car, let's say Clint Rice as always, trying that high side line, and it seemed to have the speed, especially earlier on.
There was definitely some guys running the top line really well. Of course, Clint was up there. That is home for him. I'm a bottom feeder. I always kind of prefer the bottom line. At this track, I think if we were running at night, the top line would have been a little bit more advantageous for us. But being that it was daytime with that sun beating down on the track, just couldn't quite get the run off that you needed up high. And the bottom line for me was a little bit better.
All right, Josh. Well, we will let you go. Thank you for the insight. But before we do, actually, you know what? I might as well just get your opinions right now, seeing as how you are the winningest driver this season. What are your thoughts heading into Martinsville next week?
Martinsville is a really fun track. It is without a doubt a wild card. That is a track that, you get 30, 35 guys driving around, and then you probably are going to get a caution a couple of times through the race. And, if you got that many cars in the lead lap, not everyone's going to pit and take tires, so it really shakes it up, and that's where a little bit of randomness comes in. So looking forward to that. That's what makes the racing fun. That's what makes the broadcast fun to go back and watch. But, hopefully the luck continues into next week.
Absolutely. Well, Josh, before we let you go and have a look at potential practice early on for next week's race, who would you like to give a shout out to? Friends, family, sponsors for this win here tonight at Homestead Miami Speedway.
Shout out to Dwayne and Victor and all the admins for keeping this going. Shout out to my team for all the help throughout the week and all the series that we run. And last week I was looking at the chat, and Jeremy Mayo had some real good one-liners in there that gave me a little bit of a laugh. So shout out to Jeremy Mayo.
Yeah, Jeremy Mayo, Dustin Martinson, we had John Hastings, Fletcher Hillman Jr., Jim Smith came in after he was out, Pac-Man CT, a lot of those guys keep joining us every single week, and thank them for their time and effort that they put to showing up as well. But Josh, you're still here in the booth with me, so of course I shouldn't be doing that while you're here. And before I let you go, I was actually going to ask, well, I was going to let you know that you're 14 points, I believe, at this point, 15 points, sorry, to the good on the championship. Are you feeling like you might try a bit more of a strategy of keeping it safe to get those 5 extra bonus points for a 0x, especially at a place like Martinsville, or going to go for the win every time?
The 0x is always in the strategy. That is huge and a staple of this league. So always going to try for that. I do not feel comfortable with that lead though. It's too small.
All right, well, we'll have to see how it goes as we've got 2 races left in the season. Josh, it's been great talking to you. We will see you again, I'm sure, before the season is over.
Have a good night, Gareth.
Too, Josh. That was Josh Robinson in the 23 machine, bringing it home in the top spot. Now, before we leave tonight, we'd like to thank all of the admins for Old Bastards Racing League, as well as the Kimball Cup Series, our title sponsor, as we go through this race. I have been Gareth McAllister, your man from Down Under, bringing you the action here at the Old Bastards Racing League with Team Goon Squad Broadcasting. And hopefully my internet has sustained the test of the broadcast, as well as my own brain as I try and comprehend 30 plus machines going around the track and doing so in style. Thank you very much for putting up with me, and I hope you join us next week for the paperclip that is Martinsville Speedway. Should be fun with 30 plus vehicles on track. See you then. Don't miss it. Goodbye.